Hi learners, welcome back to my channel Online Shala. So today we are going to study about microorganisms, which is the second chapter of your science subject. Now before we get into the video, I would request you all to please subscribe to the channel first so that you will be notified whenever I put up a new video next. So now let's start. So in your daily lives, you might have seen several kinds of plants and animals. However, they are living organisms which we normally cannot see through a naked eye. So these are called microorganisms or microbes. For example, you may observe patches through a magnifying glass. You will see tiny black round structures. So what are these structures and where do they come from? So microorganisms are actually classified into four major groups. These groups are called bacteria, fungi, protozoa and algae. So now let us see where do microorganisms live. So they may be single cell like bacteria, some algae and protozoa, or multicellular such as many algae and fungi. They live in all types of environment, ranging from ice cold climate to hot springs, deserts to marshy islands. Some organisms grow on other organisms while others exist freely. So microorganisms play an important role in our lives. Some of them are beneficial in many ways, whereas some others are harmful and cause diseases. Now, microorganisms are also used for various purposes, like they are used for the preparation of curd, bread, and cake, and they are also used in cleaning up of the environment. For example, the organic waste, vegetable peels, remains of animals are broken down into harmless and unstable substances by bacteria. So, as we have studied in the previous chapter about agricultural practices, we have seen that in the preparation of the soil, how organic waste is so important for the healthy growth of the plant. So, they are used to increase soil fertility by fixing nitrogen. So till now we have seen that what are microorganisms, what are the how are they classified into, where do microorganisms live. So now let us see what are the uses of such microorganisms. Microorganisms are used for the large scale production of alcohol, wine and acetic acid, which is vinegar. Yeast is used for commercial production of alcohol and wine. For this purpose, yeast is grown on natural sugars present in grains like barley, wheat, rice. So this is the smell of alcohol as sugar has been converted into yeast. It has been converted into alcohol by yeast. This process of conversion of sugar into alcohol is known as fermentation. So this is the commercial use of microorganisms. So moving on to medical use. Now see, whenever you fall ill, the doctor may give you some antibiotic tablets. So ever wonder what those tablets are and what is the source of that? So actually the source of these medicines is nothing but microorganisms. These medicines kill or stop the growth of the disease causing microorganisms. Such medicines are called antibiotics. These days, a number of antibiotics are being produced from bacteria and fungi. Some of them are streptomycin, tetracycline, and erythromycin are some of the common antibiotics which are made from fungi and bacteria. So antibiotics is not efficient for not only us humans, but they're even mixed with the feed of livestock and poultry to check microbial infection in animals. They are also used to control many plant diseases as well. So as these antibiotics are very efficient to us and help us to fight against bacteria in our body, but we should not take it if without the advice of the doctor, because extra antibiotics may even kill the beneficial bacteria in the body, which may make us weak. So that is the disadvantage of that antibiotic. So now let's see how in vaccines these are useful. So ever wondered why children and infants are first given vaccination? So let us see why is that. When a disease carrying microbe enters our body, the body produces antibodies to fight the invader. The body also remembers how to fight the microbe if it enters again. If dead or weakened microbes are introduced into the healthy body, the body fights and kills the invading bacteria by producing suitable antibodies. So let's understand this. So the antibodies are injected in our body to kill the dead or weakened microbes that are introduced in a healthy body. So what does the antibodies does is it kills the invading bacteria by producing suitable antibodies which does not harm our body, and those are healthy. The antibodies they remain in our body and we are protected from the disease causing microbes forever. So now this is how a vaccine works for keeping us healthy and killing the unnecessary and weakened or dead bacteria in our body. So several diseases including cholera, tuberculosis, smallpox can be prevented by vaccination. So in your childhood, you must have been given injections to protect yourself from several diseases. So it is essential to protect all children against these diseases. Necessary vaccines are available in any nearby hospital. Now, a worldwide campaign against smallpox has finally led to its eradication from most parts of the world. So, these days, vaccines are made on a large scale from microorganisms to protect humans and other animals from several diseases so that we may be protected and be healthy. So we have seen the commercial uses, how they are used in the usage of alcohol and wine preparation and how fermentation is done. Then in the medicine, we have seen how antibiotics are useful for us to kill the bacteria and make us strong to have a healthy body. And then for the vaccines, we have seen that how it fights from the microbes that entered in our body and help us to be healthy. So now let's see some other uses of microorganisms. Increasing soil fertility. Some bacteria are able to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere to enrich soil with nitrogen and increase its fertility. These microbes are commonly called biological nitrogen fixers. So, in the last chapter, agriculture in preparation of soil, we have already seen that how the dead organic matter is used as manure for the soil and it increases its soil fertility and how it is beneficiary for the healthy growth of plants. So, you often see large amounts of dead organic matter in the form of decaying plants and sometimes dead animals on the ground. You find that they disappear after some time. This is because the microorganisms decompose dead organic waste of plants and animals, converting them into simpler substances. These substances are again used by other plants and animals. Thus, microorganisms can be used to degrade the harmful and smelly substances and thereby clean the environment. So I would like to advise that if you have plants in your home, so instead of buying manure or something like that, you can just take it from your kitchen as well, like peels of potatoes or other vegetables, onion peels. So they can add so they can be as a manure to your plants, and they can be useful for the healthy growth of the plants. So in this way, microorganisms also help the soil fertility. So as from the start, we have seen the uses of microorganisms from commercial uses for wine, alcohol, and fermentation. Then we have seen the medical uses. Then we have seen how they are used in vaccines as well, and now even in soil fertility. So all these are advantages of microorganisms. Now there are few organisms which are harmful as well. Now let us see what are they. Microorganisms are harmful in many ways. Some of the microorganisms cause diseases in human beings, plants, and animals. Such disease causing microorganisms are called pathogens. Some microorganisms spoil food, clothing, and leather. Now let us study some other harmful activities. So the first one is the disease causing microorganisms in humans. Pathogens enter our body through the air we breathe, the water we drink, or food we eat. They can also get transmitted by direct contact with an infected person or carried by an animal. Microbial diseases that can spread from an infected person to a healthy person through air, food, water, or some physical contact. These diseases are called communicable diseases. Examples of such diseases are cholera, common cold, chickenpox, and tuberculosis. So how this get transferred from an infected person to a non-infected person is that like when a person sneezes, fine droplets of moisture carrying thousands of viruses are spread in the air, and that same air is consumed by the other non-infected person. So it enters while breathing and cause infection. How to avoid such thing is that we should keep a handkerchief on the nose and mouth while sneezing. So it is better to keep a distance from infected persons so that we don't get infected. And you can use a handkerchief as a precautionary measure. So the others are some insects and animals which acts as carriers of disease causing microbes. So one of them is housefly. This is also a carrier. The flies sit on the garbage and animal excreta. Pathogens stick to their bodies. When these flies sit on uncovered food, they may transfer the pathogens. So whoever eats that contaminated food, they are likely to fall sick. So it is advisable to always keep your food covered. Avoid consuming uncovered items of food. So another example of a carrier is the female Anopheles mosquito, which carries the parasite of malaria. Female age mosquito acts as a carrier of dengue virus. So how can we control the spread of malaria or dengue? So you should not let water collect anywhere in coolers, tires, flower pot, etc. or something. Or you should not keep your food uncovered so that they don't transfer the pathogens so, and the food gets contaminated in that way. By keeping the surroundings clean and dry, we can prevent mosquitoes from breeding. So in this way, maybe you can help to avoid the spread of dengue or malaria. So some preventive measures also you can take by keeping the patient in complete isolation. Keep the personal belonging to the patient away from those of the others. Vaccination is to be given at a suitable age. And also you need to maintain personal hygiene and good sanitary habits. Consume proper food or boiled drinking water. So boiled drinking water also helps kill these small microorganisms which are present so they don't enter our body and we be healthy. Or you can also use mosquito net and repellents, spray insecticides and control breeding of mosquitoes by not allowing water to collect in the surroundings as well. You can also you can prevent from getting malaria or dengue. So apart from these, there are also few microorganisms in animals and plants as well. So let's see what are those. So several microorganisms cause diseases in plants like wheat, rice, potato, sugarcane, and others. The diseases reduce the yield of crops and they're controlled by the uses of certain chemicals which kill the microbes. So one disease is called as citrus canker. The microorganism is bacteria and the mode of transmission is air. So in the first picture you can see that is citrus canker, the disease caused by microorganism in plants. So for the animals, for example, this is anthrax. It is a dangerous human and cattle disease caused by a bacterium. Foot and mouth disease of cattle is caused by a virus. So these are the disease caused by organisms in plants and animals. Now we have seen all the harmful microorganisms from the starting of the slide and now to plants and animals. Now let us see what is food poisoning and food preservation is. So why food poisoning is caused? So it is because due to the consumption of food spoiled by some microorganisms. Microorganisms that grow on our food sometimes produce toxic substances. These make the food poisonous, causing serious illness and even death sometimes. So it is very important that we preserve food to prevent it from being spoiled. So, as we have already previously learned that how houseflies and mosquitoes carry pathogens which are some harmful microorganisms and often sit on say, like uncovered food. So that may that may cause us being ill. So that's how food poisoning happens. So we need to clean our environment and cover our food. So that is food poisoning. So what is food preservation now? In the first chapter, we have already learned about the methods used to preserve and store food grains. How do we preserve cooked food at home then? You know that bread left unused under moist condition is attacked by fungus. Microorganisms spoil our food. Spoiled food emits bad smell and has a bad taste and change color. So is spoiling food a chemical reaction? Yes, it is. Now let us study the common methods of preserving food in our homes. We have to save it from the attack of microorganisms. So salts and edible oils are the common chemicals generally used to check the growth of microorganisms. Therefore, they are called preservatives. We add salt or acid preservatives to pickles to prevent the attack of microbes. Sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfate are two of the common preservatives used. They are also used in jams and squashes to check their spoiling. Now let us go on to see some other preservation methods. So the first one is preservation by common salt. Common salt has been used to preserve meat and fish for ages. Meat and fish are covered with dry salt to check the growth of bacteria. Salting is also used to preserve amla, raw mangoes, tamarind, and etc. So this is the preservation by common salt in our daily lives which we can use. So the next one is the preservation of by sugar. Jams, jellies, and squashes are preserved by sugar. Sugar reduces the moisture content, which inhibits the growth of bacteria which spoils food. Preservation by oil and vinegar. Use of oil and vinegar prevents spoilage of pickles because bacteria cannot live in such an environment. Vegetables, fruits, fish, and meat are often preserved by this method. The next one is heat and cold treatments. You must have observed your mother boiling milk before it is stored or used. So, before we have already discussed that boiling kills many microorganisms. Similarly, we keep our food in the refrigerator. Low temperature inhibits the growth of microbes. So, pasteurized milk can be consumed without boiling as it is free from harmful microbes. The milk is heated to about 70 degrees for 15 to 30 seconds and then suddenly chilled and stored. By doing so, it prevents the growth of microbes. This process was discovered by Louis Pasteur, so it is called pasteurization. So apart from this preservation methods, these days dry fruits and even vegetables are sold in sealed airtight packets to prevent the attack of microbes. So these are some of the preservation techniques: common salt, sugar, oil and vinegar, heat and cold treatments, and we saw about what is pasteurization as well. So after all these preservation techniques, so let us go and find out what is nitrogen fixation. So you have already learned about the bacterium rhizobium in a lower grades. So it is involved in the fixation of nitrogen in leguminous plants. So recall that rhizobium lives in the root nodules of the leguminous plants such as beans and peas, with which it has a symbolic relationship. Sometimes nitrogen gets fixed through the action of lightning, but you know that the amount of nitrogen in the atmosphere remains constant, right? So you may wonder how then. Let us understand in the next concept. So nitrogen cycle. What is nitrogen cycle? Our atmosphere has 78% nitrogen gas that we all know, right? So that nitrogen is one of the essential constituents of all living organisms as part of proteins, chlorophyll, nucleic acid, and vitamins. The atmospheric nitrogen cannot be taken directly by plants and animals. Certain bacteria and blue-green algae present in the soil fix nitrogen from the atmosphere and convert into compounds of nitrogen. So once nitrogen is converted into these usable compounds, it can be utilized by plants from the soil through their root system. Nitrogen is then used for the synthesis of plant proteins and other compounds. Animals feeding on plants get these proteins and other nitrogen compounds. So let's understand it again once more. So what we have seen is that nitrogen is one of the essential constituents of living organisms, right? So it cannot be taken directly by plants and animals. So certain bacteria is present in the soil. So those are blue-green algae. So they're present in the soil, fix nitrogen from the atmosphere and convert those compounds of nitrogen. Okay, once nitrogen is converted into some usable compounds, so for the soil, so it can be used by the plants for their root system, so that it will help for the growth of the plant. Nitrogen is then used for the synthesis of plant proteins and other compounds. Now, animals who are feeding on plants, like from the soil, they're eating those plants in which the soil has these nitrogen compounds contained. Now, animals which are feeding on plants, they get these proteins and other nitrogen compounds. So you see how from the plants it is getting trans from, like from the atmosphere from the start, the blue green can be present in the soil, fix nitrogen in the soil, and then how this nitrogen is taken up by the plants, and how these plants are then consumed by the animals, and how it gets transferred. So when plants and animals die, bacteria and fungi present in the soil convert the nitrogenous waste into nitrogenous compounds to be used by the plant animal like plants again. So you see, this is a whole cyclic process that the from the atmosphere, the nitrogen compounds get fixed into the soil, and then from the soil it's taken up by the plants, and then animals which consume this nitrogen compounds which are from the plants, and then later when plants and animals, when they die, they bacteria and fungi present in the soil convert those nitrogenous waste into nitrogenous compounds, and then those wastes are again used up by the soil and for the plant again, and then again animals consume those plants. So it is actually a whole cycle that goes around. So certain other bacteria convert some part of them to nitrogen gas, while goes back into the atmosphere, other goes back into the atmosphere. As a result, the percentage of nitrogen in the atmosphere remains more or less constant. So we see how this whole cycle works, as nitrogen from the atmosphere, how it is used by the plants and animals, and how again the from the soil it is used up by the plants again. So this whole process it repeats again and again, and so the percentage of nitrogen is never less, and it is always constant. So here we come to the end of this chapter. We have learned about nitrogen fixation and nitrogen cycle here. Previously, we have learned about the preservation techniques, food poisoning, and harmful microorganisms caused by animals, plants, and before also that we have seen the advantages of microorganisms as well, and what are microbes and what are microorganisms, what they're classified into, and all of that. So I think now you have understood the complete thing of what is microorganisms and how their disadvantages and advantages, and how they're contributing us in our daily lives. So once let us see the summary of all of this so that you will have a better understanding. So as we have come to the end of the lesson, now let's quickly go through the summary. Microorganisms are microscopic organisms that cannot be seen with the naked eye. Bacteria are unicellular prokaryotic microorganisms. Some bacteria are useful for humans, while some can be harmful. As we have seen that there are some advantages and some disadvantages for microorganisms. So probiotics are live bacteria and yeast that are good for your health, especially the digestive system. Fermentation is used in the preparation of curd and alcohol. Yes, we have seen this point, right? Fermentation. Viruses are organisms that possess nucleic acid but lack the replicating machinery. Vaccines are usually made for viral diseases. For examples, Salk vaccine for polio, influenza vaccine, rabies vaccine, etc. Now these vaccines are take the help of microorganisms. So this is one of the advantage of microorganisms. The others were commercial uses and medicinal uses, right? So antibiotics usually target bacteria. Certain pathogens can cause diseases in plants. Just like humans, plants can be attacked by bacteria or virus. We have seen this also, like the Centrix canker, and the other one was the Anthraxa. So, when food contaminated with pathogens or toxins are consumed, it causes food poisoning. So, we have also read about food poisoning and how it affects the health of a person and you may get ill. And then pasteurization is a process of superheating and cooling the beverages to kill pathogenic microbes. For example, milk. Yes, we have seen it like from 15, it is kept to 50 degrees for 15 to 30 seconds. We boil it first so that it kills all the bacteria. And then the concept was the nitrogen fixation and the nitrogen cycle. So it is a biochemical cycle by which nitrogen is converted into various chemical forms, right, as it circulates from among the atmosphere and terrestrial and marine ecosystems. So we have seen that from the starting how the nitrogen cycle works from the atmosphere to the soil to the plants, animals, and then again it goes back to the soil. So that is the whole cycle of the nitrogen cycle. And so now we have come to the end of this video and the chapter as well. So I thank you for patiently listening to this video and the lesson. So if you have any doubts, please comment down in the comment section below. And if please hit the subscribe button and please like and share a video so that you will be notified the next time I come up with a new chapter and a new video. So thank you.